Well, obviously, super excited to welcome Drew and his wife Amelia and their three boys to Annapolis. Couldn't be more excited about the hire. I've known of Drew for a long time. I followed his coaching career and have admired what he's been able to do at different places. I have a ton of respect for him and have really gotten to know him over the course of the last year, in particular, over the course of the last 2 weeks. He's a phenomenal person, and that was number one priority for me. I talked to a lot of people in this process. Talked to a lot of people about Drew, and everybody that I talked to raved first about the kind of person that he was. Obviously, an outstanding football coach as well. You look at Drew's track record, as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach, calling plays, has had success everywhere he's been, in a lot of different ways. A guy that's been able to adapt to his personnel, a guy that's been able to do more with less, a guy that's taken programs that were not doing well and turn them around quickly. The impact that he's had on the players that he's coached, the coaches that he's coached with, the impact that he's had in the communities that he's worked is really remarkable. And that's the first thing that drew me to Drew. And then you look at the track record, what he's done offensively. He understands what we need to do here at the Naval Academy to be successful. I had many conversations about that. And I think, he understands the mission of the Academy. He values that. He coaches for the right reasons. He wants to develop players. He wants to impact their lives. Coaches for the right reasons. We share a ton of the same values. He's going to be a great fit with our staff, and really just it goes on, but couldn't be more excited about this hire. He's flying in the morning, hit the ground run. We got a recruiting weekend coming up, so excited to get him here for that. Danny Payne, our recruiting coordinator, has got a list of phone calls for him to start making to our committed players, obviously, and the ones that we're trying to get on board. I know he's going to want to start meeting with our players in our program right away. So couldn't be more excited about Drew Cronic and the future of our program.
Coach Cronic?
Yeah, I mean, gosh almighty, Coach. That's very kind. Well, I'm excited. I'm jumping on a plane in the morning at 7 a.m. And that's just because there wasn't one at 6. So I'm excited to get up there and get to work. And it's an honor. I mean, when you're coaching and there's special places in the college world, and the Naval Academy is one of those. And the chance to work, first of all, with Coach Newberry, who, just like he said, we've known each other somewhat for a few years. Watched the success he had at Kennesaw State as a defensive guy, and then the success he had in Navy as a defense coordinator, and now getting to be a head coach. It's an unbelievable opportunity for him. I know how excited he is about the future, and so that excitement is contagious. It was contagious with me, and I think Coach is right. I think we're very similar. I think we see the world the same way. I've been a head coach now for, I guess 8 years. And so to move out of that chair I'm kind of looking forward to that a little bit, to just going back to coaching some offense and coaching kids. But at the same time, I think when you've been doing that, you want to feel like, man, if you decide to be an assistant coach for somebody, you want it to be somebody you admire, and you want it to be somebody you feel like sees the world the same way you do, which is, the relationships with people. And that's the number one most important thing to me, is going to be relationships with the coaches, relationships with those players, man. If those players know that you love them, man, they'll go run through a brick wall. And that's what I want to do. The first thing I've got to do is get those players to trust me and know that I care about them. So we'll be looking forward to doing that. But I'm really excited about working with Coach Newberry. We just it's almost like we've known each other for years. And we hadn't known each other that long. It just kind of worked, just kind of right off the bat. So it's very important to respect and believe in who you're working for. And I do 100%. I'm excited about that. The chance to you know, I've got a lot of experience offensively doing some different things. And I think the things that I like the most, honestly, are what's going to work best at the Naval Academy. I really think that. You know, got a little bit of a background here. My dad, I tell you, I'm a storyteller a little bit. So my dad was a high school coach in Georgia for 35 years. He's an old wing tee guy. Okay. And he was kind of the guy that was always on the cutting edge of doing different things and being creative with the old Delaware wing tee. And he actually had the leading passer in the state one year back in the early 80s, a guy named Vince Sutton, played at Alabama. So so I grew up around coaching. I grew up in that environment. I played quarterback for my dad running that offense. And as we had a chance to work together at Reinhardt University, which is where I ended up getting my first head job, we took what he'd been doing all those years and we continued to grow it, doing a lot of different things with it. So over time, it's evolved in different directions, and a lot of it has to do with your personnel. I'm sure y'all are going to ask a lot of questions about that, but it just kind of grew from there. So I've been around football my whole life. I wouldn't know how to do anything else. I mean, if I couldn't change a tire on a car. I mean, I couldn't. There's nothing else I know how to do. So hopefully I can know how to get a first down and move the chains a few times, get the ball in the end zone, and care about people. That's going to be what we try to do. I know how excited my wife is. My wife Amelia. I got 3 boys that are. My 11-year-old. He's already. I mean, he's wanting gear. You know, he's wanting stuff to put on. It's very exciting, you know, to do that. And I'm very grateful to Mercer University. I've been there for 4 years. I'm very grateful for the opportunity they gave me there back in my home state. And, you know, to get a program that was struggling and get it going and be able to build it into a playoff team. But this was just I'm a man of faith. I believe this was God's hand was on that, on this situation. And I am 100% excited about coming up there with Coach Newberry and being around you guys, and being around these kids, and being part of what I believe is one of the greatest traditions that there is. That's Navy football, and getting to play Army and all the things that go with the Commander-in-Chief's, you know, trophy and just all the stuff that goes with those things. I'm looking forward to embracing those things and competing for those things. And excited to come get up there tomorrow.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions. When I call on you, just introduce yourself with your media entity, and again, we'll do 3 questions each to start. Mike James, why don't you lead us off?
Hi, Coach. I'm Mike James from Rivals.com. Looking at your history, you know, the numbers kind of speak for itself as far as your offense goes. But you know, when you're coaching at Furman or you're coaching at Lenoir-Rhyne, I think it's safe to say that the talent that you're facing is a lot more comparable to what you have. Whereas now at Navy, you're at a developmental program where you have to go up against Memphis, and it's, you know, it takes, you know, there's a little bit of at a little bit of a disadvantage. What about the offense that you run gives you confidence that it would succeed in that kind of environment?
Well, I think because it's unique, I think it's different. You guys will see some more about what I'm talking about when we can get up there, and you may have even looked at some stuff. You know, we want to make people have to defend everything you can think of, but still not overwhelm our kids with a bunch of stuff. Okay, so a lot of shifting, a lot of motions, a lot of movement, a lot of formations, but still being good at the basic things. You know, wing tee football is a lot about running bellies, running power sweeps, running nakeds and bootlegs. And just keeping the defense to where they're having to think one more time, right? You're making, you know, the thing you got to take advantage of what your strengths are, which we're going to have good, tough, smart kids. Okay. That's, to me, you want to be able to use that. You know, you want to be able to outthink other folks. You want to be able to out-tough other folks. And there's certainly things that you feel like you're going to have to do. We're going to have to run some option. I mean, we're going to have to do some things that are traditional. At Navy, things that you've seen before, but I also want to, you know, I want to be versatile with those things. You know, we want to do a lot of different things, and a lot of it depends on the kids we have. But I think you play your strengths. You're going to have disciplined kids. You're going to have tough kids. You're going to have smart kids, and it's obviously been done at Navy well several times, several seasons. So I have total confidence that we can come in there and we can score enough points to I don't think it's going to take a lot either, Coach Newberry. I think it's going to be, you really look at football. If you can score one more touchdown and not give up one more touchdown each game, and all of a sudden have a 10 to 14 point swing, now you're winning 9 games, you're winning 10 games. And it's just getting a little bit better. So if I didn't think we could do it, I promise you this, I wouldn't be getting on that plane tomorrow.
So when Navy has a long history of option inside veer, what's the learning curve like, both for players and for coaches coming from the inside veer, moving to a more wing T based offense?
I don't think it'll be that different, honestly. I mean, it's going to look similar, and we're still going to do some of those things you just mentioned. Okay. When you get these wing sets, it's no different than double slot, however you want to call it, the spread option or the double slot under center. I mean, you're going to see a lot of the same formations, and you're going to see a lot of the same motions. So I don't think it's going to be, that big of a deal. Honestly, I think what I've done over the years can hybrid up with that traditional, option offense very easily. So we can really morph it into what the kids do well. And I think that's, the thing I don't know right now is I don't know a lot about personnel yet. I'm going to learn a lot about that over the next few weeks. But knowing the kind of kids they're going to have, I don't think that'll be a tough transition. Well, it'll take a little time, but I don't think it's going to be a stretch for them.
Coach Newberry, have you set the schedule for spring practice yet when we're going to get started?
Yeah, we've talked about it. There's a couple of things we're kind of working through right now, Mike. Traditionally we started after spring break. I think this year I'm going to try to get a couple of practices in, those helmet practices in right before spring break. Obviously want to pick Drew's brain on that a little bit, and Coach Volker, and that way we can finish up a little bit earlier to get organized and get on the road for recruiting. But we're certainly going to use all 15 days. But we're thinking about knocking 2 of those practices out before that spring break week. I think spring break starts on March the 9th for our players, but we're still working through that, Mike.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Go to Kareem Copeland.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Drew. Kareem Copeland, Washington Post. Nice meeting you.
Good to see you.
Quick question. I want to, I know you don't just said, you're not sure about personnel quite yet, what you're going to have here, but I want to ask a little bit about the quarterback position. Always, when it comes to offense, that's the number one spot. This offense has kind of struggled a little bit since Malcolm Perry was here, and I'm curious, in your system and the way you want to approach it, are there certain skill sets of a quarterback that fit your scheme, fit your ideas better? Could you explain a little bit about some of those skill sets that you would love to have in a quarterback that you think will fit best?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all want the biggest, fastest, most elusive quarterback that can throw it and hit every target, right? We want that, okay? But on a smaller level, you want a kid who can do different things. And I think with what we've done over the past, I think we've adapted to different quarterbacks pretty well. The wing T offense that quarterback can be a good runner, he could be a good thrower, he could be a good game manager. He doesn't have to be a great runner, but we'd like for him to hurt people with his legs. So some of it's just getting the best football player and then building it around, right? We want the guy to be able to run some. I think quarterbacks going to run some at Navy to keep us as versatile as we can be. It's funny. When I first got the Lenore Ryan job in December of 2017, they had a pro style guy. He couldn't run out of sight in a week. Okay, and we got in the meetings because we had individual meetings. Tried to meet with every kid individually when I first got there, and he came and said, "Coach, am I going to fit your system?" Because the year before at Furman, I had a kid who could run some option, and he knew that, and he was worried about fitting in. I said, "Buddy, can you get us in the end zone?" And he said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, then we're going to be fine." So I think a lot of his leadership, his toughness, is just being a winner at that position. If that guy's a competitive kid, he gives you a chance. But we certainly want that guy to be a dual threat. Okay, I think we're going to have our best offenses when that guy can hurt you with his legs. We can also we're going to have to throw the ball some. I like to throw the football. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I like to do it a little bit. I always felt like over the years with what we've done in our system, when we've been able to be pretty efficient in the passing game, we've been a problem for people. Okay, so we certainly want that guy to be able to make throws and do things. But toughness, character, leadership, just being a daggum winner, a competitor, that's number one. And then certainly, you know, as much of a dual threat as we can have is what we're going to be trying to recruit.
You know, you just say you like to throw the ball. Is there an ideal balance that you like to have, or is that again depends on the skill set of the guy under center?
I think it's going to depend on that guy. But if somebody said, look, if you could build it exactly and get it exactly like you wanted, I think we probably throw it 20 to 25% of the time. That's probably where me personally like to live. Now I'm going to be working with Coach Newberry, so I'm going to lean towards what he's wanting. But at the same time, I think if you can, in today's world, if you run, you know, we need to control the clock a little bit, do some things. If you get 60 football plays in the game offensively, okay, and you throw it 15 times and you can go 12 out of 15 and be very efficient, you know, I think that's probably the world I would want to live in and you know, get the game won, then go home, kick my feet up. So that's kind of what I feel. But we've done it differently. You know, I've had teams where we might have thrown it 18% of the time. I had teams where we might have thrown it 40% of the time, just depending on what the quarterback was good at and what your team was good at.
And just one last one for me. Just one quickly, you know, I've heard about this or read about the raise the bar motto. Can you explain that to us?
Well, when I first became a head coach, I actually took over for my dad. Okay, that was our small college in North Georgia at Reinhardt, and I just wanted something. I always felt like that was something you could always do, no matter how many games you win, no matter how well you do. You can aim a little higher and try to get over. It's just like doing the high. It just makes me think about a high jump. You know, you reach a certain height. All right, don't quit there. Move it up a little bit, okay, and try to jump over the next one. And I think that's how life is too. You know, you're always wanting to get better. And so wherever we've been, that's been, you know, as a head coach, that's kind of been our mantra. We talk about love, compete, and believe being our three pillars. And I'm sure some of that flavor will be involved in the ways I try to lead the offense, you know, within Coach Newberry's message, within his things that are, you know, important to him, his values. So, but that's kind of been my thing. And I think you got to have an identity. I think that's always really important, whether you're talking about offense, you know, what you're going to be good at, or whether you're talking about leadership, what you're going to emphasize. So we've always tried to create an identity in all those areas.
That's perfect. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Bill Wagner.
Hello, I'm Bill Wagner from the Baltimore Sun newspaper and the Annapolis Capital newspaper. Start with Coach Newberry. Before you began this process, the first thing you had to do is really decide what you want to do offensively and kind of what was your conclusion, because you go to your candidates and tell them in general terms, this is what I want to do, and then see if their system that they employ works. What was your conclusion on that, Brian?
Yeah. Well, the formula for success here, Wags, is from an offensive perspective is to be able to run the football first and foremost. We want to be a team that wins the time of possession. We want to be a team that limits the opposing offense's possessions, and obviously, you know, take care of the football, play great defense, and you know, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and but we got to establish the run game, you know, from the inside out first and foremost. I got to be efficient when we throw the ball, as Drew talked about it earlier. You know, the thing that I love about Drew is he's been able to do those things I just talked about in different ways. You know, he mentioned adapting to his personnel. I think he's been a master of that at the places that he's been. I think the versatility that he brings and all the things that he's done is going to allow him to do that here at the Naval Academy. But that's the formula for winning football here. We know that. We know we've got to be unique and different in what we do, and that's going to be an equalizer for us. And like we tell our kids all the time, what we do is important. The scheme stuff, the X's and O's is important, but how we do it is the most important thing. And you look at Drew's teams, they've all been disciplined. They've all been tough. They play hard. And I love the things that he's done offensively, you know, from the hybrid wing tee to the triple option stuff, to some of the RPO stuff that he's done. It's just he's well versed in a lot of different things, but he also understands what we have to do here at the Naval Academy to be successful. And he's not a guy that's is a certain system guy where he's so stubborn that he can't work around it or do different things. And that was one of the things that appealed to me most about Coach Cronic.
So Drew,
we had said we were just going to jump on here and talk about air raid. We're going to start off with that. So,
well, here in Anne Arundel County, which is where Naval Academy in Annapolis is located, the Delaware wing T was huge for a long time because two of our most famous coaches, Jerry Mears and Al Larimore, are Delaware guys, and they brought the Delaware wing T to Anne Arundel County, and a lot of schools wound up running it. But in that iteration, it was a fullback with two wing backs and a tight end, basically maybe one receiver. I don't think you adhere to that old school Tubby Raymond wing T. I'm looking at Mercer highlights, and I'm seeing a shotgun formation with single back. So kind of tell us what you envision. What formations are we going to see?
You're gonna see some Delaware stuff. Okay, I mean that's as I go back and we look at the things we've done. There's the last 2 years at Mercer, I had two receivers who may have a chance to get somebody's camp. So we kind of we lean towards them a little bit. Okay, we did a lot more RPOs. When you look at some of the run schemes, though, when you talk about wing T football, okay, you talk Gus Malzahn's perfect example. He's an old wing T guy. Okay, a lot of the run schemes that he's done are old wing T concepts. All right, the gap schemes, power schemes, the buck sweep. So there's different ways to get to those things. I think for us, and like I said, I got to get in there, and these things evolve. I want to be creative. I don't want to be, there's certain things you're saying, you say you got to be good at the same time, you got to be able to adapt. So there's been many seasons where we've started, we kind of start with our base place, and then it evolves a certain way based on, who you have and what you're doing well and what people are seeing. You got to have answers, right? You got to, whatever you're doing, what are people taking away from you? What are the answers? Yeah, we're going to get out there and you're going to see some wing sets. Okay. You're going to see a fullback, you're going to see two wings, you're going to see a tight end, you're going to see a split end, be some of those old school wing sets, but you want to be able to take that same personnel group and all of a sudden, boom, being empty, right? Doesn't mean you can't run the football, because if your quarterback can run the ball, you can still run that same scheme up front. You can still run that, doesn't change anything for the offensive line. Okay. So, if you take that same personnel group and you put those kids all over the place and be able to run your base stuff, all right, be able to run some quick game off of it, okay, because that protects things, okay, it protects that offensive line a little bit. Be able to run a few screens here and there, okay, to be able to quarterback run, to be able to neck it and bootleg. You can do all those things. Like I said, my dad had the leading passer in the state when you're running wing sets, okay, so you can be extremely versatile. You can throw the quarterback in the gun. You can still do all your same movements and motions. You're going to see something that's probably a little different than you're going to go, hey, that looks like some stuff we've been doing. Whoa, wait a minute. All of a sudden they're in this. That's what you want to do to keep defenses off balance, and make people think and slow down. Some of those kids might be a little bit bigger and a little bit faster. If you study our film really hard over the last 4 years, you'll see a combination of all those things trying to lean towards what that particular group of kids do well. I'm excited about getting into some of that old Delaware wing T stuff, but the millennialized version of it. Maybe that's the best way to say it. And so get ready for people to line up anywhere.
So when Navy had its greatest success under Paul Johnson and Ken Niumatalolo, where they was running the true triple, where it depended on whether the ball was going to go the fullback, the pitch to the slot, or the quarterback keep based on what the defense did. It was reads. Do you plan on having read element to your offense?
I think it's safe to say we'll have some of that. Yep, we'll have some of that. And let's remember the kid I was talking about a minute ago, the pro style guy. He was pretty running midline triple. He read one guy and pitched off the next guy. And being able to do some of that stuff will protect some of the base wing T things we like to do, making people play at home, be able to control the secondary, the way they spin coverages, how they run support. When you're making people have to play assignment football, then that power play that you run out of those wing sets is a whole lot more effective. The belly play is a whole lot more effective, and then your play actions are a lot more effective. Getting defenses to, being able to manipulate them to get where you want them to. So, I got a feeling we're gonna see somebody ride a fullback and pitch it off somebody. Yeah, I think we're gonna see some of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got about 8 minutes left. For those who have not asked a question yet, I'm going to ask you to ask your best question, and then I'll come back to those who have only get one to try to get a second one in. So we'll go Joe Lonergan.
Hey, Coach. Joe Lonergan with Sports Illustrated and Fan Nation. As you kind of move into this new role, what are your immediate priorities as spring ball gets closer and closer?
Well, I think it's get to know the staff. Get up there. First of all, just get up there. And get. I think I got to get a card just to swipe to get on campus, right, Coach? So just get some things together. But I think it's just get everything settled staff wise. Get our thoughts together, because there's a lot of great coaches on the staff. Okay, and I'm looking forward to leaning on some expertise that those guys have. That I think will make us extremely versatile, and just getting on the same page, and everybody getting excited about the direction we're going to go, and finding out about the kids, getting to meet the kids, the players, young men, I should say. And so I think it's getting the relationships going. It's hard to win until trust is there. I really believe that. I really believe that when folks go, man, this guy, if I come in there and it's just got to be my way, and I'm hard headed and all that, people aren't going to buy in. It's about us working together. Everybody brings value. Everybody trusting each other, and just having a common vision. Certainly I'll be leading that vision, but at the same time, those guys that are there are going to bring value, and I'm looking forward to working with all those guys. And so, getting those kids and getting them fired up about going. So I think that's big. I think obviously recruiting, helping to, to solidify some things for Coach Newberry on kids they've worked on, some kids they've already got committed, getting them feeling good about, all those things. It's a crazy world recruiting, so you want kids to feel good about that, and hopefully be able to close some deals as I get involved, and get a lot of those kids, especially those offensive kids, fired up about, the vision that we have. So I think it still boils down to having great players, having the very best players you can that can go execute, and it's more about those kids than anything else. So I think those are some priorities, when we get there, and get it rolling.
Thank you.
Got about 5 minutes left before this session expires. Joe Miller.
Joe Miller, Navy Radio Network, Coach Cronic. I guess I'll ask you my very best question, which would be, I wondered your philosophy in getting to a new job. Are you a guy that likes to watch a ton of tape and look at the stats and look at what happened last year? Are you a clean slate? Let me judge these people on what I see. How do you approach that philosophy of learning people and sort of judging what they did in the past, as opposed to a clean slate for players starting today?
I think that's a great question. I think you do a little bit of all that, honestly. I think, what's their body of work to this time, which Coach Newberry is going to be able to help me with that, just kind of giving me insight, and all the other coaches on the staff. But at the same time, you want to give those kids a chance to grow. So when I come in my mind, everybody's got a clean slate. Now I'm going to lean on some, like I said, body of work, and learn about what the kids have done in the past, who you can count, who's done what so far, what do you know about these guys, and who can we trust to do the job and execute at a high level. But like you guys said, this is a developmental program. Okay, guys develop over time. And I've seen kids who, after 1 year, you're going, man, I don't know if we hit on this guy or not. He's just not figuring it out. And then 6 months later, all of a sudden the light bulb comes on. So our job is to develop young men. That's what our job is give them the best chance to be successful, develop them, get them some confidence. And everybody's different. Some of these guys are ready to play sooner than others are. So I think you get in there, you earn their trust, you let them continue to put a body of work together. And at some point, these kids will figure it out. So you want to give them a chance to do that. At the same time, have a high expectation, be demanding, you know, and at some point, if they're just not going to do it, they're not going to do it. But you want to try to give them every opportunity they can to get there.
Thanks, Coach.
Pete Medhurst, real quick.
Pete Medhurst, Navy Radio Network. Joe took my best question, but my second best question would be this. We need to label everything. We have to call it something, yet you have done an amazing job of being, you know, adaptive within your offense. Rich Gannon threw for almost 6,000 in the wing tee. Tracy Ham threw for 419 versus Furman in an 85 title game in the triple. How do you marry all of that together? Because I'm sure at some point situationally, you'll use stuff that you used at Reinhardt, at Furman, and at Mercer along the way. How do you marry all that together? And do we really have to call it anything, quite frankly?
I don't know. Coach Newberry, I mean, we talked about it. It is what it is. It's going to be a hybrid wing tee offense, and you know, it's gonna marry up with the triple. It's gonna marry it with what I guess people call a double slide or a spread option, which it easily does because the formations are so similar. But you never know. You may see a few RPOs. Like I said, depending on what they're giving us and what the kids do well. So anyway, we're going to do everything we can to control defenders. Okay, whether it's pulling it, throwing it off one of them, pulling it, pitching off one of them. All right, or faking somewhere, so that guy's got to go cover the fake. Okay, or stick it in somebody's belly and throw it over their head. Whatever we can do to make all 11 defensive players play the whole field. But if you're going to pin me down and tell me to give it a name right now, we'll kind of give it we'll call it the hybrid wing tee, sling tee. I don't know. Whatever y'all, whatever Coach Newberry wants to call it.